Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining Donna and I today. I'm very excited about today's session. We've got record numbers of registrants, and that just goes to show how important of a topic today's course is. And so without further ado, I'm going to jump right in. We'll do a couple quick housekeeping notes. If you have questions during today's presentation, you can enter them into the questions pane or chat me directly through the chat option. Our guest speaker today and presenter is Donna Brown of Beyond Square One. My background and the reason for today's presentation is that I am the founder of Lex Tech Review, a resource for lawyers and legal professionals searching for information on case management, technology training, or ways that you can better run your business. We produce reviews, host webinars like today, as well as issuing buyer's guides, which include the Legal Technology Buyer's Guide for 2017 and our upcoming e-discovery Buyer's Guide for 2018 that we'll release next week. My background is a technology trainer and practice management advisor for the Chicago Bar Association, also serving on the executive teams of legal technology product companies, actually building products and training law firms on how to use them. Our guest presenter is Donna Brown, and Donna has been working in and around the legal industry since 1988. I had the great pleasure of meeting her and her partner Amy at the Oklahoma State Bar Association conference a couple years ago. Both she and Amy really impressed me with their just knowledge of so many different technology platforms, and really excited to share today's presentation because Donna and Amy both have just as much of a passion for Microsoft Word and teaching Microsoft Word as I do. So in today's course, what we're going to go through is Microsoft Word automation. And I just want to take a couple seconds and talk about this because there are a lot of you on today's call that have attended one of my Microsoft Word sessions in the past. And really, Donna is going to pick up where I left off. So if you have taken any of my courses and seen me teach all the way up until Microsoft Word Quick Parts, Donna is taking over where Quick Parts leaves off. And one of the most requested courses or training sessions that people ask me for is, okay, Quick Parts is great, but how do we automate those templates, letters, agreements, and documents that we use on a regular basis? So Donna, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to be turning over the presentation to you here in just a second. And then again, if anybody has any questions, go ahead and enter those in, and I'll be moderating along the way. So either we'll find a time to interject your question into the presentation, or we will tackle them at the end where we do have some time for Q&A. Donna, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to hand presenter control over to you, and everybody should be able to see your screen.
While Chelsea's doing that, Chelsea, I really appreciate this opportunity. I need to apologize for my voice. Unfortunately, I didn't get to decide what day it was not going to work very well for me. But hopefully you guys can hear me. Chelsea, if anybody says they can't and needs me to repeat something, please just let me know and I'll be glad to do that.
Yep, and thank you for weathering through it.
Yeah, thanks. Okay. What we're going to talk about today is Chelsea asked me to talk about two different features that are highly used in Microsoft Word, but sometimes a little tricky to understand how to use them, and that is templates and mail merge. Now, these two automation tools you would probably not use together. It would be you would use templates in some instances, and you would use mail merge in some instances, but you wouldn't use them both simultaneously to solve the same problem. So we're going to take a couple of scenarios, and we're going to do them once as templates, and then we're going to turn around and do them as mail merge so you can see how those work in both situations to help you decide what will best fit your needs for your documents that you're using. Okay, so we're going to start with templates. And right now you can see I'm just in Outlook. I have a few contact records in this Outlook contact list. I'm going to go to Word, and in Word, I don't have any documents open, and I want to use some free templates that come from Word. And I want you to be aware that there are free templates. So if I just go to the File menu, or the File backdrop is what Microsoft calls it, and I click on New, I see some different choices. And actually, I've got different things here, but not necessarily ones I would use. Maybe a wedding, something sent for a wedding, a save the date, different things. But I can search up here for different things. Let's say that I need an agenda for a meeting. So I'm just going to type in agenda, and I'm going to search. It's searching thousands of records is what it says, online sources, and it gives me a series of templates that I could use. So I'm going to kind of look through these. It also kind of breaks it down further into different areas. And I'm going to say I kind of like this one, what it looks like. So if I click on it, I can click on Create. Now, before you do that, I do want to point out that it's provided by Microsoft. Anybody could submit templates to be used online. So you really want to pay attention to who you're downloading from. If it says Microsoft Corporation, that's one thing. Okay, that's a corporation I would trust. So you want to just look at that and make sure it seems like it's somebody reputable. I'm going to go ahead and create that. Now, when I create it, it put this data, this text on my document. Notice this says document 2 here. And when I'm in here, I can click on meeting title, and I can just type over it, whatever I want to call this. Okay? I can type in a date, a time, who the meeting was called by, attendee list in this particular one, and then I can actually add events on this agenda if I want. Okay? I'm not going to actually go any further in it. I'm going to show you another one. File, new, and let's do minutes. Okay, so different minutes that came up. Now notice some of these you wonder, why did this come up on minutes? I have no idea. But let's say, okay, this formal meeting, that says agenda. This meeting minutes, let's say that one looks okay. So let me click on it. Let's see who it's published by, Microsoft. So I'm going to trust that and click on create. Now here I could type in whatever the organization is. You will learn by the end of this meeting that you will be glad I don't type for you. But anyway, so now I can fill those out and just change the data to meet my needs. These are the type of documents that I use online with Microsoft for. I don't, because they're not ones I use often, but they're pretty standard among the industry that I can just make changes to. Fax cover sheet, a lot of law firms will personalize those, but it's an option as well. I'm going to show you one more. Let's see if I do file new. Let's say I want an employment agreement. And I'm going to search for that. Searching about, okay, didn't find any. All right, let's try purchase agreement. Still didn't find any. The point being is that Microsoft is not going to publish very specific documents because the laws would be different in any jurisdiction. So what the next thing I want to teach you is how to take an existing document that you've spent your hard hours creating, and you want to be able to use that document as a template for another client. Okay, so I'm going to close this. I'm going to close this file as well. We don't need it. I'm not going to save my changes to either of these. And I'm going to open up an existing engagement letter. Let's say that's something I would use over and over again. So when I go into here, I've got an engagement letter that I worked with Amy Crump on. So I'm going to open it. And this is my engagement letter. And I want to make this a template so that somebody doesn't accidentally copy over Ms. Crump's engagement letter with somebody else's information. So to do that, I'm going to, first of all, save this as a template, and then I'll make my modification. This could be done at the beginning or the end. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to actually show you both ways. So I'm going to go to File and Save As. Now my default template, and I'm using Office 2016 right now, but my default template or folder is going to Documents in this 2018 Word Webinar folder. And it is now a Word document. As soon as I change this type and tell it Word template, and it's going to notice change the extension from a .docx to a .dotx. Hard to understand with my limited voice range today, so hopefully you can see that it's now a .x. And this location actually changed. If I hover over it, it gives you the full path for that location. I recommend that you let Microsoft put this document where Microsoft wants to put it, because then Microsoft will find it easily. And I'll give you that path later on as well. So I'm going to save this as just the engagement letter, not specific to Crump. This is just the engagement letter, and I'm going to save this. Now in my title bar up here, it shows me engagement letter .dotx. I have now created my first template, but I want to make changes to my template so that I have placeholders for the information that's going to change each time. Now on my template, I want to make this date where it is changes or updates automatically. So I'm going to use one of the automation tools, insert, date and time. I'm going to pick my time, but I'm going to make sure this update automatically is on. And I'm going to say okay. Notice when I see that gray around it, that is telling me that this is a field and that Microsoft is going to think for me. It's going to update this for me. Now, where it has name and address here for Ms. Crump, I'm going to change that, and I'm going to put a placeholder here. And I put something that all my placeholders will have. So this time I'm just going to use a bracket, and I might put client name and address. And I'm going to put that in another bracket. Now I'm going to say this is my estate planning template. So I'm going to leave this estate planning there for all clients. And then here, I'm going to put another placeholder for client first name or client first and last, however you want to do that. Then what I'm going to do, I could put a placeholder in here for the amount and the retainer to change if I wanted to. I'm going to leave those the same right now. But at the in the header for the recipient, I'm going to change this also to client name. Then at the bottom, I'm going to change this to client name. And I'm putting those brackets around it, and that's really just for my purposes to be able to find them. I could use a search and replace feature to be able to find everywhere it said client name in brackets, or replace it with the client's name. Now I'm going to save my changes to this, and I'm going to close this document. Now I want to use that document as a template to be able to add my new client's information in there. Okay? I'm going to get a new document. Not that I had to, it's just so all this would be available to me, my ribbon. So now I'm going to go to File, New. And in here, typically, you're going to have to trust me on this one. This engagement letter is not typically here. It's because I played with it earlier, just running through this as a practice, and I forgot to take it off. So this is very important because the first time I created templates, I went in here expecting it to be here, and it wasn't. It goes under this custom area. Depending on your version, it may also say personal in this instead of custom. So if I go over to custom and go to custom off, whoa, that's a different one I've set up for somebody else. Actually, I'm going to close Word real quick. And I'm going to go back in. Let's see, if I do File, New, Custom, this is not looking how it did earlier. I'm going to apologize, and I'm going to go back to this engagement letter, and it's going to work. Okay, so I'm going to bring this one in, and looking at this, now I could either use a find and replace feature, or I could go in and actually change this. For this purposes right now, I'm going to search for client name. So I want to make sure I put these in the same way each time. And I'm going to replace it with a new name. Okay? And I'm going to replace all. It found 3 instances of that. This didn't work because I have name and address. That did not work because I have first name, but it replaced it here and the 2 places down here. Okay. Then I could actually just go in and actually replace this. One of the things that I want to point out is right here is that you can, it says document 2 now instead of actually the name of the template. So I can be sure that me or nobody else is going to copy over that template. Okay? Now, I could save this. I'm not going to take the time to go ahead and make the other changes for John Smith. But now if I save this as, and I'm going to make this one the Smith engagement letter, and I could actually put it in the correct file folder for Mr. Smith. I'm just going to save that now. So that is one way to use templates, is an engagement letter. The next example that I want to show you is like articles of incorporation, something that's fairly statutory, and there are a few modifications, and they're all fairly simple to make the changes. Again, I think I know, I forgot to turn one thing off that I want to show you, so I'm going to quickly go turn it off real quick. And I will be glad to show you this. This work group templates is where you can change where templates are stored when you have a firm that you want to share them with. I'm for right now going to modify that and clear it out. All right, so I'll explain that one again in a minute. I just want to make sure this next example works for you. Okay, so the next document that I'm going to open, I'm going to close this, and I'm going to open And the point is that I want this to be a document that I've already used. Okay, I've already created this articles of incorporation for a client. So I've done the hard work already. Now I want to automate it a bit so that I can use it for a different company. Now I'm going to do this in a little different order to show you just different options. Well, I can see in this document that this will need to change. So this time I'm going to use a different placeholder. I'm going to use 3 asterisks because I know that's not going to be anywhere in the document, and I can just search for 3 asterisks and replace it with something else. Then here, that's a variable. I'm going to put my 3 asterisks in. The registered agent is at this address. I'm going to change that with 3 asterisks. The city, I'm going to change with 3 asterisks. The county, I'm going to change. The state will be the same for everyone, but I'll change the zip, who the registered agent is. Whoops. So those are my variables in that first area of the Articles of Incorporation. Now this, I would want to make sure if I'm the incorporator that I make this static so I don't have to type that in each time. But the date of the incorporation, I may want to change. I would definitely want to change to the current date and the year. Now the day, I may either do an underline where we're going to fill in the date that it's signed, or I could make that a variable as well. Either way you prefer. Now, I've made the changes in my existing document. And what happens, as all of you have probably experienced, people accidentally just click on save. And they've saved over Software at Law's Articles of Incorporation instead of creating the template. So I'm going to do the file, save as. I'm going to do this Word template is the type I'm going to choose. This is where it's going to be located at. And now I'm going to call this just Articles of Incorporation. This is not specific to a company. And I'm going to save it in Microsoft's location. Now, just so you can see where those reside, I'm just going to go into File Explorer. I'm going to go to my Documents folder, is the default location. And then there's a folder called Custom Office Templates. These are the 2 documents that we just created, the Articles of Incorporation and Engagement Letter. Okay. Now, I'm going to minimize that just a minute. And now we're going to use this. Again, I'm going to save this just to make sure I've got the changes. Close this file. And now when I'm ready to do a new one, I can do File, New. These Articles of Incorporation are there. The reason why that doesn't say personal is because of the workgroup templates, which I'll explain in just a minute. But we're going to use these Articles of Incorporation here. And notice you can pin one by using this pin to get it to come here if it's just on custom. I'm going to click on OK. Now I'm in Document 3. I am not able at this point in time to make modifications to the template. I'm in a separate document that I won't manipulate. Now I can just use the Find feature to find 3 asterisks, and then it highlights them for me. I can double click there, type in the name of my company, and then go to the next one. And then just continue going in this. So this makes it fast if you just use the variables, and I can go through those, making those changes. At this point in time, you get that part of it, so I don't want to just spend the time you watching me type. So at this point, it's a document, it's not the template. So I would want to do File, Save As, and now I would label this one as my Acme Articles of Incorporation. I'm just going to abbreviate that. But notice it is a DocX, D-O-C-X, and I'm going to save that here. It's changing the file format based on the version, and I'm going to let it do that. So now I've got it saved. Any changes I make are specific to this Acme Movie Company at this point. If I need to make changes to the template, I've got to open the template from that file location. So if I go back to Documents and then Custom Office Template, I would have to open up these Articles of Incorporation. Notice what it says up here. Now I can actually make the changes to my template and add any new text that's required and save my changes here, and that would be in my template from this point forward. Okay. Chelsea, do we have any questions about templates before we move on to mail merge?
We have a couple. So when creating templates, and we're going to move into mail merge, is this something that can be done for, pretty much any document, you would say? Is there a limitation? The question is there a limitation where it wouldn't work for any type of document in particular?
Not necessarily for any type of document. You can do this on any type of document. I've seen it done like if people want their file folder labels to look the same. I've seen people do it on labels, on letters, on agreements. That is absolutely no problem at all. Now, when mail merge might be better, which is what we're fixing to go into, is when I have a lot of different variables. Mail merge may be more appropriate, but as far as a limitation, there is no limitation on what types of document you can create as a merge or as a template.
Okay, great. And then the next question is, can you share templates with other people in your office or create some type of shared folder for templates?
Yes. Okay. And let me go into that. And I'm glad you said that. I'd forgotten about it. So if I go into, there are two ways to do this. I can physically copy these two templates, the ones I just created, from my Documents Custom Office template. I can put them in a shared location on the server, and people could copy them down to this same location on their workstation. That is one option. The other option is creating a work group area, and this might be if you have like a larger firm where I might have an estate planning group, a litigation group, a workers' comp group, and their templates may be different depending on the area of law. So each person could create different folders, and then you just have, for that person, that has to be identified. And you do that by going into File, Options, and on the Advanced tab, what we can do, or you move down towards the very bottom and you go to File Locations, and this work group templates, you typically want to point that to a network drive, like H or I, F, whatever your network drive is. And this is where, right now I have it set, or I want to change it to go to work group templates, a firm word template, but that could be estate planning templates, workers' comp templates, oil and gas templates, whatever work group you're in. I'm just going to identify this is the folder I want to go to, And then when I do file new, I would be able to go under the custom folder and be able to see any templates that are in there. Chelsea, would that be something that if I put in a document, those locations and the steps on how to assign that workgroup template, would that be something I could send as an email to all the attendees?
Yeah, absolutely. So we will be sending out an email tomorrow with just a recap of today's session and the recording, as well as some helpful handouts. So we can definitely include that, and I'll CC you on that email. So if anybody has any questions or would like to set up a call with you to help them with their firm, they can do that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and any other template questions?
Nope, we are good to go.
Okay, so now we're going to go to mail merge. And in mail merge, I'm just going to close this document so I'm kind of at a blank area again. In mail merge, now I wouldn't use templates in mail merge. This is going to be kind of an either or scenario. You wouldn't use both of these at the same time. We're going to take the same two documents that we just created as templates, an engagement letter and those articles of incorporation, and I'm going to show you two ways to use, or those two documents with different mail merge solutions, okay? Every mail merge has a specific types of information. Every mail merge will have a form document, okay? That is the document with the text in it. And every mail merge has a set of variables, and that could be name and addresses. I'm going to call that a database. So that database, you have different places that that database can reside. One of those areas is Outlook. Outlook is a database of contacts, and we're going to use Outlook as a data source on one of our examples. And then we're going to create our own data source in Excel, using Excel. But if you use a practice management solution in your office, like Practice Master or Time Matters or Cosmolex or Clio, those are just naming a few that we're certified in. Those are your data sources. And the goal of mail merge is never type it twice. Never type it twice. My voice kind of gave out on me. Sorry about that. So if I've got a list of names and addresses in Outlook, I shouldn't have to type it again in my document. Or if I've got a list of name and addresses in Cosmolex in my contacts, I shouldn't have to type it again. Now, I'm going to mention if you don't have a practice management solution, as Chelsea mentioned earlier, in the fall, she published a 2017 legal buyer's guide. And in that buyer's guide, she goes over very extensively different practice management solutions and what features they have available. The tip you need to look at if you're evaluating practice management solutions is you need to make sure that your solution has either document automation as one of their features or document assembly. That's what people call this for mail merge. So jot those two down, document assembly or document automation. And in Chelsea's buyer's guide, she lists many different solutions, so you could look through that as a starting point for that. Okay, so the second example is we're going to use Excel as our data source. I wanted to find these examples to solutions that you have built into Microsoft Office. Okay, so we're going to first take this engagement letter and we're going to make it into a merge template. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up that same engagement letter that I started with earlier. So I'm going to open the Crump engagement letter. Okay, the point is I'm starting with an existing document. it's already, and this is extremely important, it's already formatted the way I want it. It's already got styles built into it for me to make changes to it. It already has my header and footer in it. It already has my logo in it. All of that is done at the beginning. That's why I start from an existing one. Now what I'm going to do, notice up here it says Crump engagement letter in a docx right now. Now the whole mail merge has its own ribbon, and it's called mailing. Now I could do this using envelopes or labels, but we're going to start with this letter. And from this point forward where it says start mail merge, this is actually a horizontal list of steps. We're going to actually kind of just go through this ribbon and do the steps that we need to make this a mail merge form. Okay? So I'm going to start with mail merge. Now, the key is I opened up a document first that I want to start from. And I'm going to click on Start Mail Merge. And I'm just going to tell Microsoft this is a letter. Okay? And by doing that, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and save this so I don't save over the Crump form. So I'm going to do it in both orders, before and at the end, just like I did on the other one, so you can see it really doesn't matter. You've just got to remember what you're doing. So I'm going to do a save as. This is going to be a docx. And I'm just going to change this. And I start mine with either form or merge, so that I know this is going to be a form and it's going to have my merge codes in it. So I'm going to call this one Form Engagement Letter. I'm going to leave it in the same folder. Realistically, I would probably put it in a workgroup folder. It could be in that workgroup templates folder. And then I'm going to save this. So now I'm making changes, if I make any, to my form. I'm not copying over that Crump engagement letter. Now I'm going to go to select recipients. So I'm just going to the next button. And I'm going to say I want to get my information, not type a new list because I've already got one. I'm not going to use an existing list. I'm going to actually go in and choose from Outlook contacts. So this is how I'm making Outlook the database that I'm going to use. So when I click on that, then I've got multiple contacts in here, and I'm going to use this particular contact list because I've got different mailboxes in mine. Notice how many this one has. If I chose that one, it would take a longer time substantially for this next dialog box to come up, because it's basically making a copy of every single one of those records. So if this takes a little bit longer, it's just totally dependent on the volume of contacts you have in your contact list. And now it found all 8 of those contacts I have over here. That's just everybody that's here. Okay, I'm going to go back to Word. And I can choose to send this engagement letter to all of them. That's the assumption. But if I really just want to send it to one, I can click on this checkbox at the top. That removes the check for all of them. And I'm going to say, I just want this to go to Tommy Glenn. Okay, so I'm choosing him. And I'm going to say, okay. Now what I'm going to do is the edit recipient list we'll do in a minute. We're going to leave it. We've chosen who we want. Now we're going to go to this area. Write and insert fields. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, now we're just going to get our form letter the way we want it. Well, I would definitely want this to update at my date. So I'm going to go to Insert, Date and Time. This is the format I want, and I want it to update automatically. So every time I use this mail merge, it would have the current date on it, and I wouldn't have to change it. Now, where Amy Crump is, this I want to change, so I'm just deleting that static text for Amy, and I want to put in a code that tells Microsoft to look at that Outlook contact record and pull the information from it. Okay? So go back to the mailings tab, and I've got this handy little address block. Now notice what the tooltip says, address block. Add an address to your letter. You specify the formatting and location, and Word will replace it with the actual address from your recipient list when you finish the mail merge. Well, that's really handy, so I'm going to use it. Now this is the dialog box that it was talking about, and I get to choose what that is going to look like. So I'm going to say I want it first name, middle initial, last name, and a suffix if there is one. Insert the recipient's name in this format. So I'm just choosing what format I want. Notice it's got different ones in there. I just chose this one because I don't have titles in there. And I'm going to insert the company name. I can turn that on or off. Notice how this changes. And this insert postal address, I want it to only include the country or region if it's different than the United States. Now, if I take that on or off, it's not making a change here. Now, I've purposely done something to this Outlook record to show you this, a mistake, or it's not a mistake, it's just a setting in Outlook, because actually I searched for this for a very long time. So I'm purposely leading you where it's not going to work exactly the way we want it the first time. Okay? So for now, I'm going to say I just want the address, the name, and company name and address. And I don't realize it's not going to put it there for me now. And I'm going to say OK. Now it put this code in here for me called address block. Okay? Now, estate planning is not going to change, but here I want it to say, Dear Amy, the first name. Now I'm going to delete this whole line or the text. I'm going to leave the line, and I have something called greeting line. So I went from address block, and now I'm going to say greeting line. Greeting line is the salutation. So I'm going to say dear, and I can choose the or the title and the last name, or I can say I just want it to be first name and a comma, or I can choose a colon, however I want it. And if it doesn't have a valid recipient name, it would put Dear Sir or Madam. It's showing me in this record, which happens to be record number 5 of 8, that it's going to say Dear Tommy. I'm good with that, so I'm going to say OK there. Now notice here it puts greeting line. Notice they're gray. Again, that's a visual clue. Word is thinking for me. It's going to put something in there for me. The only other place other places I'm going to change is in that header. I can't really say the address block, and I can't say greeting line. But if I go to this insert merge fields, notice how it's got a top and a bottom to this button where this is all one button. And I'm going to show you the difference here. I'm going to go to the bottom part of this button, and it is going to give me a list of fields available to me. This is important. Listen to this. This list of fields is only available to me because over in Select Recipient, I told it was Outlook. So these are all the fields available to me in Outlook. And I'm going to choose, I want the display name to appear here. Okay? Then I'm going to go on down, and where we have Amy's name here, I'm going to use that same display name. But notice I've got all phone number fields, address fields, email fields, anything that is in my Outlook contact record. Okay, and well, I've got an extra comma in Amy that I didn't notice. Now I'm going to insert the display name here again. Okay, So those are all of my I want to automate this date so that I automatically get a new date, because today's the 18th, not the 17th. So I'm going to insert date and time. This is the format I want. Update automatically. Okay. Now it's gray. Before it wasn't. That was my visual clue. Oh, that's not going to update automatically. I want to put that in. Okay. Now I'm in my form. So I am just going to save my changes to this form. Okay. Those are the only variables I have. Now I'm going to go back to that mailings tab, and I've finished inserting my fields. Now I'm going to use this preview results. And if I click on preview results, it's going to show me Tommy's name there, his company name, no address. And I see his name there, Dear Tommy. I see Tommy Glenn, which is the display name. And I see that here as well. And in both these locations at the end where we want him to sign. Okay, but this is a preview. I'm still in my form. Well, now we want to figure out why that address didn't show. So I'm going to flip over to Outlook, okay? And I'm going to look at Tommy's address card, and I can see he has an address, okay? So I'm going to open his contact card, and it's like, okay, I see there's an address there. What's the problem? This little checkbox right here, this is the mailing address. Unless that is checked, it doesn't know, the address block code doesn't know which one to put there. So now if I save this, his contact record, and I go back to Word, and I'm going to turn off preview and back on preview. Actually, I'm going to have to go select the recipient again. So if I go here, choose the Outlook contact, this contact, and I'm going to choose just Tommy, say okay, and now his address came in. So that is very handy to be able to pull this. Now, let's say it's a great day and I have 10 new clients, or those 8 different clients. What I can do is I can go in, and just for our purposes, I'm just going to select 2 or 3. I'm going to say I need one for Amanda, Aaron, Tommy, and Tammy. Okay, so I've got 4 of these in here that I want to create those merge templates for. I say okay. Okay, we've got probably the same thing going on with Tammy. But when I'm in preview, I can go back and forth to look at the different records and what they're going to look like. Okay? So for our purposes right now, and just to make sure we have enough time, now what I want to do is finish and merge. Okay? Because I am still in my form. So I want to finish and merge, and my choices are just to print those documents if I don't need to save them. But you and I know if it's an engagement letter, we're definitely going to save that. And then we're going to save the copy when they sign it and send it back. So I always do edit the individual documents. Now here I can say which of those records I want. And I'm going to say I really only want Tommy's, or I don't remember which order. Amanda's is the first one. And this is the order that they appear in Outlook. Okay, so Aaron, I'm not sure if Aaron or Amanda's is the first one we'll get. We'll find out here in just a minute. So I'm going to say just the one record, and I'm going to say okay. Now notice what this says up here. Now I'm not in my form anymore. It has Amanda's information. Notice how it's not gray anymore. It's static text at this point. It has Amanda's name in the header, and it has Amanda's name down here. The only 2 codes are the date. Now, if I want to make that static, I'm going to give you a keystroke, and you might want to jot this down. If I just click in that, and do Control, Shift, and F9. Write that down. Control, Shift, and the F9 key. That changes a field in Microsoft, and then it changes it to static text. So I could do that as well down here. Now, I'm not going to take the time to do that because I really want to show you this other example. So I'm going to do a save as, and I'm going to save this now as, instead of the form, this is now the Blackwood. Good grief. Let's try that again. File, save as, and I accidentally hit enter on that, but we'll call this Blackwood engagement letter. Save. Okay. Now I want to show you with articles of incorporation, and I may have to go a little bit fast on this one to be able to get it all in, but I want to use Excel as my data source. And we pulled that other one up, and I've already created a data source, but I want to show you from a new document. I can just come in here and I can put company name, and I can do registered agent address, registered agent city, registered agent county, registered agent zip. We had month of incorporation and we had year of incorporation. Those were our variables in the other one. And then I'm just going to save this as basically a database. And I might call this one AOI database. Okay, and I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to fill it with something else. Now, I've already got one that's done, so I'm just going to open it real quick, this completed one. It's using the same fields that I just did, but I've actually got some variables in here. I typed in Acme Moving Company and their address, their county, everything about them. And I've got another one in here, Best Car Sales. I could continue just adding rows to this document whenever I need them, if I need to incorporate someone else, okay? So I'm going to close these right now, close this. I'm going to start, now this is my form. I'm going to close it. I've already saved it, but I'll save it again just to be sure. And I'm going to start with my articles of incorporation that I've already prepared for someone else. That was these. I'm going to go to Mail Merge. And I'm going to start this, but it's not a letter. It's not an email, envelopes, labels, or directory. I'm just going to say it's a normal Word document. Okay? Now notice how these are not available. I have no fields available to pull down because I haven't told it a data source. Now if I go in here and I say use an existing list, if I go into here, navigate to that completed AOI database, it is using sheet 1 of the database. If I had multiple sheets, they'd be listed. And I'm going to say the database does have those heading rows. That heading row is what's going to control this drop down. And I'm going to say, okay. Now I've got just the fields that were in that Excel document. So now where Software at Law Inc. was, I'm going to change that to the company name. And I'm just going to use a word automation tool over on the Home tab of the ribbon, this capitalization, and tell it to be uppercase. Then this one, I'm going to put in as mailing, insert company name. Then this address, I'm going to delete out the static text, put in my merge code for the registered agent's address. I'm going to put in the registered agent's city, the registered agent's county, the registered agent's zip, registered agent's name, I'm going to come down here, put the incorporation month and the incorporation year. Okay. Now I'm going to save this file, save as, and all I'm going to do is change this, and this time instead of using the word form, I'm going to put merge in front of it. Either way, it's just something so that you know this has the merge templates in it. And I'm going to save it. Okay. Now, when I go to preview, let me go back up to the top. If I preview this, I see Acme Moving Company there, the address, city, county, state. Now notice here, I don't have a space between the county and the word county. So I've got a mistake there. So if I just turn off preview, I just need to add my space there, preview it again, and now it looks right. Then I can go to recipient 2 and I can see best car sales there. Trent, if you're on, notice I used your name in there. I saw you were coming, so I used your name in there. But so I can preview these, but then right now I'm in the merge form, so I want to save my changes to that. Now I can turn off preview, save it, so I just see the merge codes. But I want to finish that merge, edit the individual documents, and let's say right now I just need the best car sales is the only set of incorporation records I need. So I'm just going to say record 2, but where that is pulling from is the row exclude, and it's not going to let me open it right now, I don't think. Let me see. Yeah, I'll say read only. It's this row, number 3, minus this 1 for the header row. So it's 1 less than whatever row content that is. So important to know that there. I'm going to close that, and I'm going to say OK. Now I'm in letter 2, and I could actually save this as a separate document now and call this the best car. Forgive my cap lock on because I'm about out of time. I'm going to save that format. And that's how you can use mail merge to be able to automate documents as well. I know we're about out of time, Chelsea. Do we have any questions?
Yes, thank you so much, Donna. We've covered so much ground today. We do have a couple of minutes for questions, and I know we had a few hand raises. So everybody, if you have something on your mind, go ahead and enter it in, and I will share those questions with Donna. And just a couple questions from the audience. So will this be available to watch again later? Yes, we will be sending you an email tomorrow with Donna's contact information as well, and the recording, as well as any of the documents that she shared today. And it is a lot to learn. You are absolutely right. A couple of other just comments from our audience today. And just to let everybody know, this is not something that, you watch over the course of an hour and can just, jump in and start learning. This is something that, takes a little bit of time to get the hang of, possibly, watching the training session a couple times. That's why we recorded today, so that you'll be able to go back and watch it again and again whenever you need to. It'll be available for free. And that'll be circulated to you tomorrow morning in the form of an email. Donna and I will both be on that email, so I do encourage you to check out the resources in there and then reply back with any questions. I'm going to take presenter control back because I just have a couple of housekeeping notes, but feel free to keep entering your questions in and I'll share them with Donna. Okay. All right, and here is Donna's contact information. I want to thank her for spending so much time with us today. I teach Microsoft Word quite a bit, and this is definitely a topic that, I tend to be hesitant to teach because it truly, truly does take an expert in this area, and she did a phenomenal job. We have another question. How do you create the sub lists of contacts? Donna, do you want to tackle that?
Can you repeat it?
How do you create the sub lists of contacts?
How do you create the what list of contacts?
Sub lists. So a list with
okay. I've just created a new contact record or a contact folder. So under my contacts, I can do a new folder group, and I can call it, these are my best contacts. And from my main list, I can copy and paste a few of these. I'm just going to randomly pick a few, copy. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't have my screen open.
Go ahead. Yep.
Okay. So let me do that again. From my contacts, I can right click on it, create a new folder group, and I'll call this my favorite contacts. And then from my main group, I can just pick some random people, copy them, go to my favorite contacts. That's not working for me right there. I should be able to create another one. Right click, and even though I don't have paste, I can Control V there, and it added those into there. You also get a contact list depending on how many accounts that you have listed there. But you should be able to just create a new folder underneath that and be able to add those. In fact, what I'll do is that's something I can add to the documentation that I send out tomorrow.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And any other questions from the audience before we close out today's session? Give it just a second. All right. Well, it has been a full hour. Donna, amazing job. I'm going to take presenter control back and leave our contact information up as we close out the day here. To everybody who attended, thank you so much for sharing your afternoon with us. Donna's contact information is dbrown@beyondsquareone.com. You can find her and Amy's information as well as more detail on the services that they provide at beyondsquareone.com. My name is Chelsea Lambert. This has been a Lex Tech Review webinar. We will be providing the recording and the additional resources Donna mentioned in an email tomorrow coming from both of us. Please keep an eye out for that, and we welcome you to contact us for a free technology consultation, chatting about Microsoft Word help, templates, or training, and a variety of the other resources that you might need help with inside of your firm. Thank you so much, Donna, for sharing your time and knowledge with us today. We look forward to seeing everybody again soon, either at a conference or online.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.